Uh, just wanted to introduce my guest today, a longtime friend and political associate from the Hill in the old days of the Harper government, Mr. Maxime Bernier, the Honorable Maxime Bernier, who was a former industry and foreign affairs minister in the government of Stephen Harper, and is now the leader of the People's Party of Canada. And as we were just discussing, and I'll get into the guts of our conversation shortly, but I just wanted to let our guests know that you are continuing to work to build the People's Party of Canada right now.
Yes, absolutely. As you know, I'm the leader of the People's Party of Canada. We started that party 5 years ago with 0%. Our first election in 2019, 1.6% of the vote. And the last election in 2021, 5% of the vote. And I'm traveling across the country, meeting our people. And actually, we are in the process right now to find some candidates. We have up to now 100 candidates approved and ready to fight if there's an election. And our goal is to have another maybe 150 more candidates before the end of this year. So like that, when the election will come, we will be ready and we'll have a candidate in every riding. And every Canadian will be able to vote in line with their values. So yes, we are building the party, and that's very encouraging.
Will you be running again in your old seat in Quebec?
No, I won't. No, I won't. For the general election, I'm looking right now at two ridings, one in northern Ontario, in Timmins, Ontario, the other one in southern Alberta, southern Manitoba, Portage, Lisgar. And actually, I may run before the general election because we will have a by-election in 5 ridings across the country because we didn't have a general election. And actually, the riding of Portage Lisgard will be in a by-election before the end of October. And I may run there and we'll see. I still have to meet some people over there. And that would be for me an opportunity maybe to be back in Parliament before the general election. So I'm looking at that, and I'll be able to decide early July.
Well, we certainly need you back in the House, but I think you're doing more work for Canadians right now than, say, Jagmeet Singh of the NDP is doing, coordinating Justin Trudeau's government. So I do think you're doing a lot of work, which and I. As much as we want you back in the House, because I believe you keep the Conservative Party of Canada more honest than it would be. I think you keep them from drifting too far to the left, which they have a tendency to do, even with its current leader, who I think is an improvement over the last. But I don't trust the Conservative Party of Canada any more than you do, to stay honest. So I look forward to seeing you back in the House in that capacity. But talking about the work you're doing, I've been reading the material you've submitted to Twitter on what is going on in this country with drag queen story times. But I was especially outraged, as I saw you were, with this drag summer camp that's being offered in British Columbia. What on earth is this about?
Yeah. Actually, we must understand that the drag queen story hour is a political ideology, and we must understand that. It may be fun and comic to see people dressed, a man dressed like a girl, and so it can be maybe a family friend. They try to sell it like family friend, but the real goal, if you look at it, the real goal, it's a political ideology that is going against the two sexes, and they try to sexualize young children, and that's why me and the People's Party of Canada is against that to children. It must be something for adults. But when they are doing that, they try to put some confusion in child's mind, saying that maybe the reality that we know that there's only two sexes, male and female, may not be the reality. That may be different. And so when you are young kids, you try to look at the behavior of your parents and you want to imitate that. And so when they're doing their performance in front of kids, it is the sexualization of kids, and it is telling them that you may not be a young boy, you may be a young girl, and vice versa. So I understand why some parents are very upset with that, and they are. That's the drag queens and their radical trans activists are promoting their ideology to kids, and we must not tolerate that. It's disgusting, and all that must end. And that's why I tweeted about that, and we are against that. But it is not politically correct to speak against the drag queen story hour. We are the only national political party that is speaking against that, because it's against our Western civilizations. It's against our education. It's against also, biology and nature and science, that there's only two sexes, and a girl won't be able to be a boy, and a boy won't be able to be a girl. That's the reality. So they are promoting their ideology with kids. And actually, what is worst is that the federal government, provincial government in BC, and also CBC are doing that promotion also. We must end all that, and as soon as possible. For me, that's all about gender dysphoria. If you think that you're in the wrong body, and you cannot solve that with hormones or things like that. And some of them are mutilating their body by trying to transition to another sex. It won't happen. And that's why, all that, the promotion of that kind of behavior with kids, it's inappropriate, at least.
Well, and these are at this drag camp, this summer camp, which is, it almost looks like a parody. It's so absurd and so ridiculous, but this is true. And they're asking 7-year-olds to come to the camp, and they say that we'll supply the makeup. It's just, to me, I find this just beyond the pale.
Absolutely. And the federal government gave the last 2 years to that organization about $280,000 to promote the gender dysphoria. And so for me, I don't understand why you don't have more politicians in Canada at the provincial or federal level that are saying, enough is enough. I know that the drag queen story hour in the US, you have more and more opponent against that for the reason that I said. But here in Canada, if you speak against that, you'll be seen as anti-trans. I'm not anti-trans. You can do what you want with your body at 18 years old. Mm-hmm. But we must not promote that kind of behavior to children. It is the sexualization of children, and we are creating a kind of a confusion, sexual confusion among them when we are bringing kids to camps like that or to a drag queen story hour.
And it amazes me that you say there is no other opposition to this. Where is the Conservative Party of Canada? Where's Pierre Poilievre? Is he afraid to go after any social issues at all?
Absolutely. Pierre Poilievre people must understand that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada and the NDP and the Bloc Québécois and the Liberals and the Green, everybody in the House voted in favor of Bill C4. And they were so happy that they did that. That's the bill that is for the, how do you call that? Conversion therapy. And
oh, yeah. Yes.
so that's and Pierre Poilievre voted for that. So what that means is if you are a parent and your kids has a gender dysphoria, you cannot give to your kids and ask your kid to go to see a health professional for your kids to be able to accept his or her body. It's criminal. That's the bill C4. But the opposite is not criminal. So if your kid is a boy and your little boy is saying, oh, I may be a girl today, and the teacher or one of the parents is saying, oh, it's okay, that kids will have hormones and they will have a therapy to transition to another sex. So, but the opposite, to try to, have that discussion with children about gender and trying to have them to accept their sex, it is illegal and criminal. But Poilievre and the Conservative and everybody voted in favor of that bill. So that's why they're not speaking against that. They are for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have misunderstood that bill as only pertaining to conversion treatment related to homosexuality. But of course, it's much broader than that, as you just pointed out. And I think that needs to be spelled out to Canadians that this was a dark day with the passage of this bill. And it applies to a broad range of sexuality. So
yeah, you just have to read the bill. It's clear. It's a very, if you can go on do your research, go on the internet, bill C4, you'll see it. It's only 3 pages. Everything is there, and you're going to be able to acknowledge yourself of what I said. It's the reality that it is in the bill.
CBC claims it's only received a few angry letters or opposing remarks about its show Drag Kids. Do you think that's true? Or do you think there's more people out there upset about this?
First, can we trust the CBC? That's the question. CBC is a woke organization, and they are all in that drag queen story time. That's their pet projects. So if they received a lot of calls against that, they won't tell us that. So, but there's more and more protest in Canada. So I believe that more and more people understand what is happening there.
Yeah, you also mentioned the fact these drag story hours or story hours. How many other worthy people could be put there to talk to children? You say firefighters, police officers, military personnel, heroes who have won medals, but yet we're subjecting kids as young as 7 or 8 to cross-dressers, to drag queens, and yet we wouldn't take kids to a strip club. And yet we seem to think this is almost normal now. But why aren't we reaching out to those people we used to reach out, the true Canadian heroes, and let them share their stories with children?
You have a point. Absolutely. We want children to be able to imitate, their heroes and their parents. And so let's find real heroes. It's not because, you have a person that will dance in front of you in a costume in the other sex. That is something that we must promote. If a kid wants to put a costume, and I had 2 daughters, and they did it when they were younger in their house and playing with costumes, it's okay. But it's a sexualization. When you have a show from a drag queen, it is sexual. It is the reality. They're doing that in bars, but it's not a place for kids or for family. What I don't like is they are promoting that like a family friend event, and they are saying, it's to promote reading, promote the diversity and all that. But no, it's not about that. If you want to promote your kids to read, and you want to promote reading, you can do that at another place than at a show like that.
Well, we've got so many issues in this country, and Pierre Poilievre just wants to talk about the carbon tax and very little else. But we have so many looming issues in this country. I mean, the farmers are facing increasing hardship with not being able to get fertilizer, which could lead to a potential famine, which could lead to us even not being able to feed our own people. We have a prime minister who is completely obsessed with something called diversity, and he can't even define that for us because it can mean just about anything. And we have people unwilling to say that the very character of this country is being gutted by allowing this explosion of drag queen phenomena. And it's almost like we're experiencing a decline in Canada, like the Roman Empire once did. Do you think we can still save this country?
That's why I'm in politics. That's why we created the People's Party of Canada. And my answer is yes. But the other part of your question is when. And I don't know when, but I believe that the common sense will prevail. And the more we speak about that, the more people will understand about that issue or other issues. And that's what we are doing. That's why I like to say that we at the PPC, we are doing politics differently, because, we are speaking about things that may not be popular today or politically correct today, but, we have strong conviction. And we believe the more we speak about our conviction based on the Western civilization values, individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness, the more we speak about our policies, the more support we will have. And actually, if you look at the past, we started the party at 0%, 1.6, and now 5%. And I believe at the next election, we will grow. So, but that's the opposite of the conservative and the mainstream establishment political parties. They are doing politics just based on survey and polling and what people think today. And they will repeat that. So Poilievre is not a leader, is a follower, is following the public opinion. And, we need a leader in Canada that will lead with strong ideas and strong values. And I believe that our time will come, but I don't know when. But I can tell you that we have great people across the country that are ready to fight when we'll have an election. And we can make a big surprise at the next election. So I'm optimistic that we will win that battle, or that common sense revolution. We need to be out there and to speak about what we believe openly with passion and conviction, and we'll have more support.
So how do you respond to those conservatives who say, as long as you're still in the race, as long as you're still seeking to have MPs elected, you're just dividing the small c conservative libertarian vote and helping Trudeau? How do you respond to people like that?
Yeah, that's the argument about splitting the vote. But, we don't split the conservative vote, because the conservatives are not conservative right now. Look at our platform. Poilievre won't speak about mass immigration. He actually agrees with that. 500,000 people that will come here in 2025. And we had last year 1 million people if you had the non-resident and the foreign students. So he won't speak about that. He won't speak about the drag queen story hour. He won't. He won't speak about balancing the budget as soon as possible. For him, we must cap the budget. So for him, it's okay to have a big fat government that will tell you what to do or what not to do. I can go on with the equalization formula that is unfair, and we must be less generous. The climate change, the conservative are okay with the Paris Accord. We will withdraw from the Paris Accord. I understand that Poilievre won't impose a carbon tax, but it will impose more regulation and on businesses to achieve the Paris Accord goals. So that will be costly for Canadians. So what I'm telling you is, read our platform. It's not the platform, the conservative platform from the Conservative Party of Canada, and that's why we don't split any vote. Poilievre, if you listen to him pretty carefully, and the time, every time it's going a little bit more to the left. Poilievre, his goal is to split the Liberal vote, and he will do that, and he's doing that. Because for him to win the election, he will need to have more support in the big GTA near Toronto in Ontario. There's more seats over there than in all Alberta together. And he will need to have support in Vancouver. So he will need to have support from these big Liberals cities. And so that's why he's going to the left. So he is splitting the Liberal vote, and we don't split any vote because we are very different than the Conservative Party of Canada.
Well, it's hard to disagree with that, because you once told me that even as a libertarian, as a small C conservative, you were not afraid to talk about social issues, which of course the Conservative Party of Canada has always been afraid to talk about social issues. So I applaud you for doing this. It needs to be done. You're the only one doing it out there with any credibility as a politician. And I thank you for that, because I know a lot of Canadians have been adversely affected by this incredible explosion in this drag queen phenomenon, and it's our children that we're trying to save from this. And I think you're doing that. So I thank you for your time today, Maxime. It's always a pleasure, and I hope we see you back in the House again. And all the best in that riding.
Thank you, David. I'm very pleased that we had time to have that discussion together. And yes, if I decide to run in that by-election, I'll do everything to be back. But also at the same time, if I'm not back, I have more time to travel across the country and to speak about real common sense reforms. But our time will come. I hope it will be as soon as possible. So thank you for everything, David, and let's stay in touch.
Yes, by all means, we will. And joining me today, I want to thank my guest, Mr. Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada and former Foreign Affairs Minister under the government of Stephen Harper. Thank you again, Maxime.